What's going on, guys? Today I have a very special guest for you guys. He's fighting at LFA. His name is Alex Martinez. Let's get started.
Now fires back. Oh, there's Fury with the right hand. Wilder's hurt. Wilder's hurt. He wobbled. He almost fell over into the ropes. He is close to going out.
Alex, how's it going, brother?
It's going good.
It's going good, man.
Yeah. Last
Well,
part
we'll
of
get
camp.
right.
Just weight off.
What'd you say? You're just trying to get your weight off?
Yeah, this is the last part of camp and stuff. Just making weight. So it's one of those things.
Hey, I hear you, man. I hear you. I just want to. We'll start it off. I'll ask you. This is a question I ask like almost every fighter I interview. Growing up, getting into mixed martial arts and stuff like that. How did that all come about, and what kind of drew your interest into training and competing?
Just wrestling. So wrestling since I was younger, and kind of just stumbled my way into this fight game. But I remember seeing the old school UFC. Like 7th, 8th grade when I first started wrestling, and they would talk about it within it. They would say this guy was a wrestler, or they would say wrestling moves. I was like, what the heck? So I realized, like, dang, like you learn some of this wrestling stuff. Like you could fight, you can use it in a fight, and then so it always piqued my interest. But after I was done wrestling in college, it was kind of like, what's next, and I was like, damn. And I was just coaching, and I was coaching one of the fighters' sons, and he kind of reeled me in, and I've been there ever since. So I don't know. Even my wrestling style, I've always been just aggressive, mean. Want to be physical, want to break my opponent. And it's carried over to fighting very well. So
How different is it? This is actually a good question. I feel like how different is it from just wrestling versus MMA wrestling and trying to put it all together and set those takedowns up? Is there a big difference in that?
yeah, you have to make a lot of adjustments. There's like certain wrestling techniques that you have to be cautious of. You just got to be wary of the strikes, some of the knees, the punches, the kicks, and stuff like that. The timing of the punches, but it's different, but it helps out a lot. And if you keep it pretty basic, wrestlers, they do fairly well in MMA if they could take a punch and they're tough and stuff. So, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, for sure. So like you're training at the MMA lab right now. Have you been there your whole time?
Yeah. I'll be there for my whole career. If I ever feel like, I want to switch camps, or I want to do this, I want to do that, like, I'll be done. The lab's my home. I'm homegrown. They took me from a wrestler to a fighter, so I don't see myself leaving.
So everyone I've talked to from the lab, the one thing that they've always said is the culture there. For you, what in your perspective, how does the culture help you in your career stay motivated and everything? And then also, what has John Crouch meant to you as a leader? Guys like Benson and Rob Emerson, what do those guys mean to you, and what do they do to help you stay motivated?
Just like leadership, and it's like, it's a tradition. You have guys that they just start there, just taking classes. Maybe they've done some form of martial arts growing up, but they just start taking classes. Now next thing you know, they're on the fight team, taking amateur fights, and now they're in the UFC. Marks McGee, last week. I think it was last week or a week ago.
Savage.
Yeah, he same thing. When I started my amateur career, I remember him, trying to get in where he could fit in. Before he was full time on the pro team, he was doing night classes, while he was working a full time job, and he just followed the program, followed the culture at the lab, and they got him where he needed to be. So it's there, you trust the leaders, trust the guys that paved the way before us. So that's what it is, really. So I see it firsthand. I see it all the time. Guys I start with, or guys where they're at in their career, and then now they're peaking. And it's just day at a time. Consistency of a lot of guys that just stay in the gym, always training all the time. So uh,
Alex, you're coming up on your first pro fight for LFA May 19th, next Friday.
yeah.
What's different for you and your mindset going into from an amateur bout to a pro bout? Does anything change for you? Is it all the same?
I guess the time's a little bit longer, but not really. I mean, we've been giving guys, that are in Bellator and in the UFC and stuff like that. I've been giving guys like that rounds since I started, 5-minute rounds and stuff like that. So I'm used to it. Not really worried about that. It's just performing. I perform. I beat a lot of guys in the world. So um, nothing changes.
How's your camp going for you right now? How's everything going? I know you said you're getting the weight off this week and stuff like that. I know that's always that's probably the toughest fight. But how's camp going?
uh, Camp's always good. It's always hard. Always harder than the fight. You know, which I rather suffer in camp and then be victorious. Flawless victories. Even if I go to war and stuff like that, it's always harder at practice. So always getting pushed, always getting better.
That's like my guy Magic Mike said, man. He said nobody. He goes, unless you've been through a camp at the lab, man. One thing I'll tell you is most guys, if they come and do a camp with us, man, they don't make it out.
It's tough, man. You have guys. It's crazy. The fight game's just crazy because you have guys that'll come in, and you'll recognize them, or he's in the UFC, he's this, he's that, and then you kind of just see them. How they carry themselves, their work ethic, and they're kind of just prima donnas. They don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, and it's just like, nah, man, just shut up and do the work. You know what I mean? So we're doing something right over there, so.
That gym's one of the best gyms in the world. I can't disagree with that. They're doing everything right.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a couple more questions. One of them is what's, I guess not your end goal, but what's your goal in terms of where you want to end up for your career? Does it really matter if you went to Bellator or UFC, or are you just looking for one of those promotions to pick you up, or is it like I need to be the UFC, the best, the best number one promotion to feel like I made it?
Well, it's like shoot for the stars, So it's always the UFC. It's always cracking the top 15, top 10, top 5, and fighting for a belt. Those are always the goals. If my career ends up differently, it is what it is. But in my mind, if I were to select where I want to go to the UFC. So that's where I see myself. So be UFC and then contesting for a belt. That's what it is, world champ.
I like that mindset, man. Who's your number one sparring partner at the lab? Who do you like to? Who gives you the best? I guess the best looks. Like, who do you like sparring with the most? That just makes it hard on you to work harder.
It depends on the camp. It depends on the guy, and it depends who I'm helping out. Because I've sparred with a lot of individuals, and there's no easy rounds. You know what I mean? So, for this camp, I used, who helped me out? Can't think. A couple amateurs and stuff like that. So Caleb Encinas. Actually, Brett's a pro. He's helped me out. What's his name? Mark Lozano. Guys like that. It just depends. Because this guy I'm fighting is a tall, lefty, lanky southpaw with he's got some solid jiu-jitsu. So it just depends who I'm fighting. But I've been in Benson's camp, been in Hamill's camp. I'm probably gonna after I get done beating this guy up, probably hop back and help Hamill out. He's fighting some Russian, so fight
Yeah, he's
similar to him.
fighting on a stacked card for Bellator, man. That Chicago card is crazy. Alex, I'll wrap it up with this. What's your favorite thing to do outside of fighting? What I mean, is it whether it's with your family, yourself, like what hobbies, what do you enjoy?
That's a great question. I'm very simple. I'm a simple man. Like just good food, um, traveling, lifting some weights. That's about it, really. I don't like really doing too much. I'm not a party kind of person or any of that kind of stuff. Um, so just with family, doing that kind of stuff with people I care about.
You guys have am I wrong? 8 fighters at LFA next week, right?
We do, yeah.
8 fighters. Well, man, I hope you guys go 8-0. Your gym is full of savages. You guys are outstanding. I don't think I've seen one bad fighter in an amateur or professional bout from the lab that isn't good or it can't make it. So they're doing a great thing over there. But I appreciate your time, man. I told you I wouldn't keep you too long. I
I
understand
appreciate it, man.
everything you're going through. But is there anyone you want to shout out or also tell them where they can find you on social media?
I'm usually, on Instagram, so it's Amar 155. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. Pretty much it. I don't really, I'm not really going to much anything else. You said special shout outs and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you want to shout anyone out, man, go for it.
My gym, obviously, then my lab, my training partners, coaches, my family, my girlfriend, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So.
All righty, Alex. Thank you for your time, man. Hang out backstage just for a second while I end the broadcast.
Right on, brother.